How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. Phone number 877-973-7425. Sorry, my brain is fried. 877-973-7425. Real quick, if you're in Georgia, voting for your Public Service Commission happens in a couple weeks. Polls are open now for early voting. And if you're a Republican, if you're conservative, you want to vote in the Public Service Commission election, you have two actual far-left communists who are running hyper-progressive Democrats, and you need to stop them and go vote for the incumbents, Rich Johnson and Tim Echols. If you're a Republican in the state of Georgia, this is very important. You've got to go vote. You have got to go vote. And it's the only thing you need to vote for. There are some local government races, but if you're a Republican, the Democrats are banking on the fact that the Public Service Commission races, the two of them, will be at the very top of the ticket, and you're going to have more Democrats than Republicans voting, and they're pretty convinced that the Democrats are going to show up because all the local elections in Atlanta and Decatur and you name it in Georgia are happening, and so it's going to be a massive Democratic turnout for local elections, and they'll vote for these two far-left progressives and get them on the Public Service Commission. You do not want that to happen. You know, one of their plans is to actually shut down natural gas expansion and put solar panels in Georgia. I don't know about y'all. I got blue sky out right now, but yesterday it was cloudy. The solar panels weren't producing power, and they want to shut our power grid down by doing that here in Georgia. If you're a Republican in Georgia, you've got to go vote and take your friends to go vote and take your friends' to go vote, take your whole family to go vote. You've got to go vote in this election. No excuses. No excuses. Now, I have to shift gears. I'll take phone calls here in a minute. But one of the things that keeps coming up with progressives now that are worked up about ICE, I don't know if you've seen a Democratic-appointed federal judge in Chicago has said that ICE can be arrested. This is on appeal. Also, I told you so. I told you so. Most of you believe me. Some of you doubted me. The federal judge that said the president could send National Guard soldiers to Portland, Oregon, has been overruled by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. It was always obvious that the president had that power. She tried to drag it out, and, well, too bad. She's been overruled. There's a story my buddy Ben Dominich linked to at a website called Pirate Wires. I don't know anything about Pirate Wires, but Pirate Wires has a piece that talks about Mamadou. Do you know who Mamadou is? Mamadou is the poster boy for Uber Eats. The super writer, TikTok made him famous. We've got to protect Mamadou. Walk through Midtown, New York City at night, and the story writes itself. Gas-powered mopeds idle in clusters outside the Roosevelt Hotel, their headlights cutting through steam from the street vents. Riders sit slumped over paper cups of coffee, helmets at their feet. Upstairs people in $4,000 a month apartments track their Uber Eats orders on their phones. Your Thai curry is 6 minutes away. Everyone in the city knows what's going on. We just don't say it out loud. Most of those men on mopeds are recent arrivals from Venezuela, Ecuador, or West Africa. Many crossed the southern border and landed here by bus. They aren't legally allowed to work, but they are, because the city's appetite demands it. Their labor is the hidden metabolism of New York. We pretend not to see what's really going on here. We invent myths to make it bearable. The first myth is Mamadou. The super rider of TikTok lore, the lightning-fast courier who seems to deliver to everyone at once. New Yorkers post videos of orders by Mamadou and write songs about him, calling him the hardest-working man in New York City. The Wall Street Journal reported Mamadou isn't one man at all, but dozens of West African couriers who have the same name. This is from the Wall Street Journal, The Mystery of Mamadou, a delivery guy who became a superhero. Whispers of a seemingly superhuman delivery courier began spreading this summer. People said he's the hardest working man in New York City, that he delivers your food faster than anyone, that his orders always arrive at the exact requested location before he disappears into the wind, leaving behind only a bag of piping hot food. They claim he's everywhere and nowhere at once. He's the man who alone shoulders the burden of keeping the city running. His name is Mamadou. Dozens of New Yorkers have posted videos and screenshots boasting that Mamadou has delivered their food and wondering how one man manages to do it all. They express their love and appreciation. He's the hero of our town, says Jake Schroeder, a 23-year-old Brooklynite. It's giving the Michael Phelps. He's the Michael Phelps of food delivery. He's the Kelly Clarkson. I'm waiting by my window for him, Claire Thomas Allen, a 28-year-old Manhattan Upper West Sider, said. He should be the president, said Ben Weiss, a 24-year-old in Flatiron. There's just one problem. Mamadou may not exist, at least not as one man. The first mention of Mamadou emerged in early 2025 when Derek Yin, a 24-year-old manager at a tech company, Alchemy, noticed a strange trend in his food orders. Is there a reason every food delivery driver in New York City is named Mamadou? Either that or my boy put it in overtime, he joked on Twitter. As the summer unfolded, the myth of Mamadou grew. More New Yorkers began posting videos or photos celebrating Mamadou. Google Trends showed searches for Mamadou in New York. Peaking in August, Schroeder, a comedian, felt so inspired he penned a song. Mamadou is a common name in West Africa. It's a variation of Muhammad, and many men are named Mamadou in reference to the Islamic prophet. Most New Yorkers are in on the joke. They know there isn't one Mamadou, but revel in bringing up larger-than-life internet legends that have created camaraderie. You see that? It's a PR push. New Yorkers feel virtuous compassion and solidarity without confronting the exploitation of the men named Mamadou. The second myth they create is the individual tragedy, the sympathetic figure we meet in profiles and quickly forget. The New York Times followed Michael Milano, a Venezuelan father who pays $400 a week to rent an unlicensed moped, another $150 to borrow a stranger's Uber Eats login. After 12-hour days, 7 days a week, he clears $300. When police seize his bike, as they have more than 7,000 times to various delivery drivers this year, he loses his livelihood overnight, but he still owes the broker. It's a business model. This is what the left is doing as they march in their No Kings protests. They've created a virtuous cycle of criminality that impoverishes illegal aliens and enslaves them to brokers. Most migrant riders don't own their vehicles. They lease them from brokers for $300 to $500 a week in cash. Bikes lack registration or insurance. The New York Post found one broker controls dozens, collecting envelopes of cash on Friday. When the police department conducts sweeps, the owner simply replaced the bikes and raised the rent. And the apps don't hire migrants directly. They require a social security number and a verified bank account, so a parallel market emerged. Someone with legal status opens an account, verifies their ID, then rents out the login. The Post reports that migrants pay between $100 and $200 every week, sometimes $500 a month, to deliver under someone else's name. When customers tip through the app, the money lands in the legal account holder's bank. Migrants get paid later, minus a service fee. Outside the Roosevelt Hotel or shelters in Queens, you can buy a complete starter kit, a moped, a helmet, insulated bag, and Uber Eats login. To do junto all together. Ads circulate through WhatsApp groups and Facebook Marketplace targeting Venezuelan and Guianan migrants. It's an informal franchise system that works because everyone is involved is desperate to honor it. Many owe smugglers, thousands for the trip north. One Venezuelan interviewed by the New York Times says he borrowed $1,500 and now owes $3,000 with interest. Another told Fox 5 New York he sends a portion every week's earnings back home to keep his family safe from the lender. Each confiscated bike deepens the debt. Most riders are paid in cash. There are no 1099s, no payroll records, no workers' comp when they crash on wet pavement. The city forfeits tax revenue. The companies forfeit liability. The riders forfeit everything. Under U.S. law, asylum applicants can't apply for a work permit until 150 days after the filing. Then they have to wait 180 days before the permit can be issued. The gap ensures months of illegal labor. What we call the gig economy is in practice a dead in fear economy, one that goes unchallenged in hyper-progressive places like New York City precisely because liberals have redefined compassion as ignoring the law. You can take the Democrats. Just consider this. You can take the Democrats out of the 19th century, but you can't take the 19th century out of the Democrats. The party that justified slaves in the 19th century now justifies slave labor in the 21st century so they can get their food delivered quickly and cheaply. You have an underclass of migrants in New York City and elsewhere who are essentially owned by brokers who give them logins to Uber Eats and DoorDash and unlicensed mopeds without registration and insurance. And every time the police confiscate one, the illegal immigrant gets more and more in debt to the broker, many of them living in fear. Many of them have their families targeted in their home countries. They're living a subsistence wage with government handouts for illegal aliens in New York City. And the progressives are protesting ICE. They're not protesting that system. They're perfectly fine exploiting the labor. Democrats are always fine exploiting labor all the way back to slavery. The Democrats have been fine exploiting labor. What they're upset about is the people who want to get rid of the system of exploitation. What's the solution for the would-be new mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani? He wants to pay lawyers to help the illegal immigrants be able to stay in New York and continue being slave labor for the rich white people of Manhattan who want cheap eats delivered to their door, fresh, hot, now, by someone whose name is Mamadou, who's not really Mamadou, just borrowed Mamadou's login to be able to work and might be beholden in debt to Mamadou. It's kind of wild, isn't it? In the 17 and 1800s, there were a group of West Africans selling others into slavery, and now there's very likely a West African in New York City who is lording it over other immigrants into this country, making them work for subsistence labor under his account that he gets paid as a middleman. And what is it in favor of and in service to? Good white Democrats in New York City. The cycle of history just repeats itself. Progressives in this country marched in the streets on Saturday, making themselves feel self-righteous and virtuous against kings. No kings in America. But they're perfectly fine with slave labor. They need someone to cut their grass. They need someone to take care of their grandmother or their parents. They need someone to take care of their children. And they need someone to deliver their groceries and their food. And they don't care that it's an illegal alien, and they don't care about that illegal alien's status. They don't care about that illegal alien's livelihood. They don't care about the care of that illegal alien. They just want their food and their groceries quick, their babies taken care of so they don't have to, and their parents taken care of so they can ignore them. And if you send in ICE, well, ICE is the bad guy, not the people corrupting a system and abusing the labor. The left sure does talk a good game about labor and their care for labor, but really, they just want their deliveries fast and their food hot when it gets there, and they don't care what happens to the laborer. All they know is the receipt says his name is Mamadou. It must be so. Y'all, I have been waiting to tell you about Cove Pure. I'm so excited. So, I moved my radio show and podcast out of my house to a studio, and I'm in a big corporate building, and you don't really trust the water out of the pipes. Cove Pure is the fix. They've got Clearwave technology. It removes 99.9% of contaminants, lead, PFAs, pharmaceuticals, you name it. I've got one in my office, and I finally have stopped buying bottles of water thanks to Cove Pure. There's no need to call a plumber or drill any holes. I was able to do it. You just plug it in on your countertop. You set the temperature you want on the touchscreen. It tastes like water. That is, it doesn't have a taste. It's fantastic. Take back control of your family's health and drink water the way it's meant to be. Go to covepure.com/Eric right now. Get $200 off while supplies last. That's covepure.com/ERICK. covepure.com/Eric. Get $200 off. covepure.com/Eric. If you're a Republican in Georgia, you got to vote in the PSC election for Fritz Johnson and Tim Echols, and you need to vote because they're running against two communists who want to turn off our power grid. So please go vote if you're a Republican. Early voting is happening. Let's go to the phones. Six, real name here. Six, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you. I'm going to ask my question and then jump off the line here.
All right.
You said something yesterday that caught my attention. You mentioned that a lot of the people in the No Kings protests were boomers, and you're right. A lot of them were elderly. The generation coming up, a lot of us born in the 80s and 90s, we were a tougher generation. We were a bit more conservative. We will be replacing that older generation here pretty soon. And my question to you is, because that does include, Chuck Schumer, Pelosi, and the like. So, but as we're coming up and we're more conservative, we're also dealing with a left that is far more radical than back in the 80s and 90s as well. So my question to you is, politically speaking, how is that going to change the map when it comes to votes and the direction of the country? And lastly, God bless you and your family, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Six. Okay, so great question. How does this change the direction of the country? Think about the electoral college shift right now. Sunbelt states are gaining seats and blue states are losing seats. In the next census, California, Illinois, New York, Pennsylvania, they're all expected to lose seats in Congress, as Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona are expected to gain seats, those more conservative states, more Republican-oriented states. Yes, we're dealing with people now much more radically left than the 60s, although not really. I think if you go back to the 60s, an undercurrent there was also communism as well. The Weather Underground was bombing the Capitol and bombing the Pentagon and bombing state Capitol buildings, targeting elected officials, particularly Republicans, for assassination. There's really nothing new under the sun when it comes to that. And the American people rejected them and voted Republican, voted Richard Nixon. And they're doing the same thing now with Donald Trump. They're voting for Donald Trump. They're voting for the Republicans, rejecting the left. The left is also not having as many kids, so they have a population situation working against them. So things don't actually look great for the left. Their only saving grace is they're educating your kids right now in public school. With banks collapsing, with the economy not doing well, Swiss America has been warning people about a secret war on cash, and they would love to get you educated on it and get their free report into your hands about the secret war on cash. It applies to crypto as well. You can get a completely free copy by calling or texting 800-289-2646. If you call them at 800-289-2646, tell them Eric Erickson sent you. If you text them at 800-289-2646, just send them my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Get the report from Swiss America completely free on how the government is trying to steer you into plastic and away from your cash. It's a secret war on cash. It applies to your crypto as well. Swiss America is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They've been one of the trusted leaders in the country for precious metals for 40 years. Call them or text them 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Let me go back to the phones. Mark calling from Jacksonville, Florida. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Eric, and happy anniversary. I hope you and your wife and family get to celebrate nicely tonight.
Thank you very much. I sure appreciate it.
You made a comment earlier about Trump kind of backpedaling on the whole college loan forgiveness deal. And initially, I tend to agree with you on, I'm not a fan of this item, but I just kind of wonder, is there or should there be an asterisk next to this issue? And here's what I mean. So back when Obama was president, he replaced or removed banks, financial lending institutions from being the lenders to these college kids and made it all the federal government. And we've always been told that, your path to success is through a college degree. And they flooded the market with money, and kids start going to college, and they end up majoring in, medieval basket weaving, and they can't do anything with those degrees. And the cost of college outpaced what the wages were being paid to these, new college graduates coming into the workforce. So in my view, one view I guess I see is that the government caused this problem, caused the debt, and the government's making an attempt to erase it or get out of it. So although I'm not a fan of paying off a loan for somebody, people use the analogy of if you went to a trade school, is somebody going to pay off your loans to become a plumber, an HVAC guy, something like that? And I get the analogy and the argument there. But on the other hand, I think, all right, if the government caused the problem, which I believe they do, they mess up everything. I got less faith in them than I do single-ply toilet paper after a chili cook-off. What's wrong with them forgiving this debt?
So here's my problem with the debt. It is that you going into college take out the loan. You make the agreement. The government doesn't. Now, I think that the reason colleges have gotten so expensive is because of the loan program to begin with. You have essentially allowed colleges to escalate beyond the price of inflation, or beyond the rate of inflation, because the government subsidizes it. That reminds me. So let me see if I can find this clip. Jon Stewart having a conversation with Bernie Sanders last night about healthcare. And he makes a point about government subsidy driving up costs. And of course, Bernie Sanders can't fathom that taking money from Peter to pay for Paul's health care isn't anything other than, in Bernie Sanders' mind, a constitutional right. But that's the problem with the student loan system, is because you don't have to pay until you get out of college. The government is essentially subsidizing it. It's driving up the rate. It's driving up the cost. And I just actually think that it's a bad system, but it's a bad system that you yourself, as the person who took the student loan, you're the one who agreed to it. You're the one who said that you want this loan. You want to go get your women and gender studies degree. And now you can't make the money and the government's going to bail you out. I just think, why should we? Because you and I are the ones who are having to do it. I don't think we should. I think that there is a problem, and it is with the system that allows people to take out these loans. And the way to fix it is not to forgive the loans like Joe Biden wanted to do and now Donald Trump has done. It's to, I would say, get rid of the student loan program altogether. Make the people who have the loans. I'm still paying off my college loans. I haven't practiced law since 2006. I'm still paying on my law school loans. In fact, for a time there, I wasn't making a whole lot of money as a lawyer and had to defer the payments for a while. And I'm sorry, but I think that the students are obliged, not me, to pay their student loans. And what Trump and Biden have done is said, you and I will pay off their loans. And Trump did it, and he didn't have to. He could have fought it on appeal. And the Department of Education is the one, the president's Department of Education is the one that decided to cave. And I object. This is the Jon Stewart, Bernie Sanders conversation.
Highest quality education, tuition free. And now working class families can't afford to send their kids to college.
But again, this gets to the democratic solutions have never been to directly provide. It's always been a subsidy
Absolutely
to a
right.
middleman. But what happens is when the government promises endless funds to insurance companies or private universities without any cost controls, and Trump seems to understand this, prices rise far beyond the rate of inflation. And we've seen it in tuition, and we've seen it in pharmaceutical, and we've seen it in healthcare. So my question is, will Democrats recognize the poison pill that they've often placed into well-intentioned policy?
Right. What they end up doing is coming up with very complicated proposals. You make $48,964.
Yes!
You will get this thing. You make $1 more, you finish, and blah, 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 blah. Look, we have got to make it simple. In the wealthiest country in the history of the world, should healthcare be a human right? Yes, it should be. Should we have the best quality education in the world from childcare to graduate school? Yes, we should.
Right, but these are.
All right, how do you pass?
Let's get there.
All right, then the question is, all right, these are.
I'm writing this down, Sanders.
All right, the Republicans, you're getting violent here, you know.
You're right.
It's a human right. It's a human right. But who pays for it? You and I pay for it. And Jon Stewart's right. When the government promises endless funds to insurance companies or private universities without any cost control, prices rise far beyond the rate of inflation. I think the students who took out the loans, like me, are obligated to pay for their debts. You and I shouldn't. But this does raise another issue. And you know, so I've got this concern. So I'm employed by my flagship station, WSB in Atlanta, and I get a paycheck. I get health benefits for my wife and me, and God knows my family has been a strain on the healthcare budget. But then I also syndicate my radio program. The Eric Erickson Show is my show, and I syndicate it around the country. And my live reads or ads that you hear during the show generate revenue for my show. My Substack comes to me and generates revenue. And then I pay salaries to my board operator and my producer and my head of affiliates and my head of digital and my assistant, and cover the costs and the satellite costs and things like that. But I'm not making enough money to fly private. I'm not making enough money to give great benefits to my employees. I pay them all great salaries. In fact, my agent says I pay them too much, but I pay them more than I probably should at what they're doing, but I can't give them benefits. We don't have health insurance. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who actually does develop insurance plans, healthcare plans for businesses, and he says the rates are going through the roof right now, that he's advising more and more small businesses to abandon giving health insurance to their employees and just putting them on the Obamacare market. Big businesses get better rates, but small businesses where you've got less than 10 employees, he said, forget about it. I would like to be able to provide my employees health care. And I don't mean going out to like the Christian mingle funds and stuff like that. In fact, I got asked to an ad for one of those, and I've got friends who use them. I don't want to recommend them. I've got friends who've had problems with them. I don't use them. It's impossible for me as a small business owner with just really 5 employees to be able to provide health insurance for my employees. And I would like to do it. I would like to cut into my profits and provide health care, but I can't. I can't get a policy for them. Bernie Sanders' solution is for the government to take care of it all. But we see in other countries what happens when the government takes care of it all. The lines get long, the waits get long, and the people who can afford to do it hop a plane and come here for coverage. It seems like part of the solution is to allow small businesses like mine to co-op with similarly situated businesses across the country so that we can do what a bigger company can do, and that is get better rates from insurance companies and put us in a position of leverage to be able to negotiate with the insurance companies. But the Bernie Sanderses of the world fight that. Bernie Sanders does not want me and my small business of 5 employees to be able to combine with a bunch of other similarly situated companies to grow our numbers to 1,000 employees, where we all share a part of it and we all negotiate together to get the best insurance rates. He doesn't want me to be able to do that because he wants to break the system so he can have a socialist government-run healthcare system that even Jon Stewart recognizes would bust the caps and break the country. I mean, the whole purpose of Obamacare was actually to drive up healthcare insurance. In fact, the Democrats now, the Washington Post is admitting that Obamacare has driven up the cost of healthcare in this country, and that was by design. Remember Rahm Emanuel, who said never let a crisis go to waste? They wanted to manufacture a healthcare crisis in this country so that ultimately people would get so fed up they would say, okay, government, you take care of healthcare. Let's kill the insurance companies. And we literally have progressive activists gunning down healthcare insurance executives in the streets of New York now, because Bernie Sanders is opposed to a free market solution. In every situation where the free market has been embraced, it's lowered prices. The price of your plane ticket right now, adjusted for inflation compared to one from the 1980s before we fully deregulated the airline company, you're saving a lot of money. Airline prices have actually gone down. Ticket prices have gone down. Computer prices have gone down. Technology prices have gone down. Time and time again, prices have gone down. You adjust for inflation, you're paying less now than you were 30 years ago, except education and healthcare. Why education and healthcare? Because of the government's involvement in subsidy. I'd love to pay my employees or give my employees retirement plans and healthcare. I'm hoping to be able to pull off the retirement plan. But healthcare is not an option because of Bernie Sanders and Barack Obama and Obamacare. They've prevented small businesses from pooling resources to save money. They've prevented individuals from negotiating their insurance plans. You got to go to Obamacare. They've actually incentivized employers throwing people off of private health care and going into Obamacare. And Obamacare has gotten more and more expensive. I've got a friend of his, because of the individual mandate, he had to get a plan. Now the individual mandate, the Republicans haven't made it as enforced anymore. But when it was enforced, he had to get a health care plan. He had a great health care insurance. He had great health care insurance before Obamacare. He was a sole proprietor. He owned a gym. He was a trainer. Had great insurance. He was in great shape, had great insurance, went to his doctor every year for his physical. He had to get Obamacare. His old plan went away. The one that he liked, the one that was cheap, the one that was pooled with other resources and other people, he had to get rid of it. He had to go with an Obamacare plan that is only accepted if he uses the emergency room. But he had to have it. It was the cheapest plan. It was more expensive than the old plan they liked, where he could get a physical once a year at no charge. That's what Obamacare did. And the Democrats want to make it even worse. And I don't know that the Republicans have great solutions. The nerdy embrace of health savings accounts. Oh, we'll just make everything a health savings account. That doesn't work for most people. Maybe in your boardroom, you wonks, the circle of jerks get together and think that, oh yeah, health savings accounts, that works. That solves all the problems. It doesn't solve all the problems. There are things that could, including buying insurance across state lines, getting rid of the required mandates for coverage, things like that, things that would actually save money. There are real plans out there. The Democratic plan right now is just to have national socialized health care, that because they say it works in Canada and it works in Scotland and it works in the UK, it works in England and Wales. We should have universal socialized health care. But, we're dealing with countries there that are vastly more homogenous. They're all real white and much smaller populations than our own. We're a diverse, heterogeneous population. And we know the free market brings down costs and the government raises costs. And the solution from the Democrats is just to keep costs going. They've broken the school loan system because the price of tuition keeps skyrocketing, because you don't even have to pay your loan off until a couple months after college. So you don't feel the cost until then. Universities have no incentive to rein in costs. In our healthcare system, they've broken that too. And too many people in this country can't get good, reasonable insurance anymore. And too many businesses are starting to struggle with 20, 30, and 40% increases year over year for healthcare. And they want to be good employers, and they want to cover the cost for their employees. And the Democrats have made it almost impossible, trying to force us into a socialist system that will be more inefficient, that will deliver poorer results, and that will slow down the process of your health care. My wife was last week able to get into a doctor on Thursday and a hospital on Friday because they diagnosed her with something. In a lot of countries that the Democrats say are the models for healthcare, that would not have been possible. And she probably could have died. And those socialist systems, death is a preferable outcome for them because it reduces the people using the system. And that's not a system we in this country should have. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. We've talked about the problems with the Defense Department. There's something brewing here that you probably need to keep your eye on. Let me break this one down for you. Military leaders, senior generals and admirals are on background telling the conservative Washington Times, that is widely looked at in the White House, that they no longer trust the Secretary of Defense. And now there's this. Defense Department personnel will now have to coordinate all interactions with Congress through the Pentagon's Central Legislative Affairs Office, according to a memo obtained by Breaking Defense, a change in policy that could further curb the flow of information streaming from the department to Capitol Hill. In the October 15th memo, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Deputy Defense Secretary Steve Feinberg direct Defense Department personnel, with the exception of the Pentagon's Inspector General Office, to coordinate with the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Legislative Affairs for all engagements and communications with Congress and state elected officials. Now, this is actually a pretty significant change in operations of the Pentagon. Long held that if members of Congress wanted to get on the phone, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and ask questions in their oversight role, that happened. And this is going to upend the deal. All interactions between the Defense Department personnel and Congress or state elected officials, including those outside the national capital region, will require approval from the Pentagon's Legislative Affairs Office. Communications with Capitol Hill must also be routed through that office. The directive is a shift from previous policy, which allowed the military services, combatant commands, and other Defense Department agencies to manage their own interactions with Congress. Even the Republicans are saying this is a bad idea. When you got the military leaking to conservative outlets about the Secretary of Defense and stuff like this, you're going to have problems. I can see it coming. Now, you may see problems coming with your technology and you're wondering how to deal with them. Vision Computers can help you deal with them. They help companies across the nation. They can help your company as well. In fact, they might be able to save you money with their managed IT service. You call them at 404-COMPUTER, go to visioncomputers.com and tell them Eric sent you. You save some money. Along the way, Vision Computers can build you new computers or upgrade your existing computers. They can remote in and help your computers. And you're not dealing with AI chatbots with Vision Computers. You're dealing with human beings. You pick up the phone, you call, you get a special number. If you got their managed IT, 15 seconds or less, you get a human being on the phone, and they help you with your problem. Faster than a Google search, they get you the answer to what's going on. They can even remote in, if need be, to take care of you. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. That's where you go. If you tell them Eric sent you, you may save even more money. My son has a gaming PC from Vision Computers in his room. I am tech supported in my house, and not for his computer. He knows how to call the phone, and Vision Computers, day or night, answers the phone. In one case, he emailed them, and they called him right back. He thought it was a spam because it was so late, but they fixed the problem. 404-COMPUTE, visioncomputers.com. Let Vision Computers take care of all your computer needs.